This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Let's get it going on a Tuesday. Welcome into Money Moves. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you live from downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino, home of the world's largest sports book. Got a jam-packed 2 hours on deck. Lots of college football, college hoops, the NFL. Happy early Thanksgiving to everybody. I was telling you, JVT, I've already got family in town. It's one of those weeks, of course, during the holiday season. You getting geared up for Thursday?
No, because I have to work. It feels like a normal week for the most part.
You guys aren't going to do a big spread still?
I mean, we are, but I don't know. I like Thanksgiving. I'm more of just like, when I get there, I'll be excited, I should say. Like,
okay.
I like Thanksgiving a lot, but it still kind of feels like a normal week for the most part. It's actually fitting that I'm not looking at you or the camera and looking at my phone, because this is exactly what this time of year is. I'm trying to find one of the many basketball games that are on right now, with it being feast week and whatnot. So I love this time of year. This is, as I called it yesterday, mine and I think many others, catch up on college basketball week, where you're really starting to get an eye on some of these teams. So I do love this week, but I'll get more excited when we get to Thursday.
And that's actually a great tease for where we're going to kick off the rundown today. So, producer Justin, if you would, let's set the table for what's to come today.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is the rundown.
You said it, JVT, as we get into our top items on the program today. Feast week, college hoops. We got 66 games on the card. Plenty of them already in action. A buffet, if you will, of elite non-conference games on deck, including the best action right here in Las Vegas. 8 AP top 25 teams playing in the Players Era Festival. We saw one of those teams absolutely smoke my Aztecs last night. Oh my gosh. They look so bad against Michigan, it's sickening.
They do, which leads us to and I'm very excited to talk to Adam Burke about this. He would say, because it's a power conference, he doesn't care, but Mountain West is not. The What Am I Missing special, because San Diego State back in action later today, just catching 2, and the market's been moving in their direction all day. Ken Palm says San Diego State should be favored by a point against Oregon. SDSU, as we will talk about, one of the worst cover teams in the country right now.
They got clapped by 40, and now just a 2.5-point dog. Okay. Can't wait to see, by the way, with that in mind, what Alabama is going to do to UNLV later.
It won't be pretty.
I don't think
I'll tell you that much.
I don't think so.
It will not be pretty, and I am tempted to lay the number. I don't want to be like, glass half empty guy, but it doesn't look good for the Rebels.
The big marquee game of the day, number 3 Houston taking on number 17 Tennessee. FYI as well, Creighton and Iowa State about to get underway here as well, so we'll give you score updates on that one as we go. Cyclones laying 6.5, total 151.5. And you mentioned Adam Burke. He will join us in 30 minutes. We'll talk plenty of college basketball as well as college football, which leads us to our next
Call him by
item.
his name, by the way.
What?
The mid-major maestro.
Oh yeah,
That's
can't wait.
right.
Oh, don't forget. What are we going to play today?
Guess the mascot?
Who's
Okay.
that mascot? You gotta get into it.
I apologize, but who's going to be the mascot for every one of these conference championship contenders that we're going to discuss, because there's a lot of scenarios that we have to unveil.
Bingo, bango, bongo. Yes, it is the last week of the regular season in college football, which means spots in each conference championship up for grabs. For some leagues, the picture is more clear than others, but we're going to hit on some of the more notable scenarios that are coming up this weekend. For example, 6 teams still technically alive for the ACC championship, including Miami. We will talk through that. 4 in contention for the Big 12, and then the list goes on and on.
We are still alive for our Utah Utes.
I marked it as an L in my spreadsheet. Did you see that?
I noticed that. You know what's funny is it's so weird with these tiebreakers. Even though there would be a 3-way tie, I believe, if I have my notes correct, Utah would make it in over Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship.
That's correct. Well, it's the most likely.
Yeah.
I think there's still some underlying metrics that might pair into that.
Either way, to have a head-to-head and be in a scenario where you make it in ahead, that's wild.
Absolutely wild. And with Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday, we're going to do our first look at the NFL triple header. Packers, Lions, Chiefs, Cowboys, Ravens, Bengals. Joey B is back. But will the result be any different for Cincinnati?
3 good games. Really looking forward to it, including, I don't know about you, I told our buddy Jensen as well as Mark Malusis earlier this morning on VSiN By the Books. That 7 looks pretty tempting with Joey B and the Cincinnati Bees.
We'll get into that a little bit
later.
It's a full
7.
Yeah. Yeah, down from, though, if you were somebody that was intrigued by the look ahead and you thought it could happen, down from double digits. So I'm sure there are some people that have that in pocket feeling pretty good about where they sit right now. We are going to start in the NFL, though, talking through what transpired last night.
Can I say? I have to cut you off.
Okay.
I'm learning more and more every single week and every single day about Stormy Buonantony. We've been together as a show. What are we at now? 6-ish months? Something like that? April?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. So we don't really, we're still learning about each other. The anger that I felt coming out of my phone when exchanging only a few text messages, we didn't really talk yesterday at all. That probably was, I would assume, quite the environment that you had to watch your 49ers in last night with a bunch of raucous Carolina Panthers fans.
I want to pull up. I'm trying to think if there's anything I said to you. Oh,
I could just feel it.
This is so unenjoyable.
Yes, that was the first one.
Said, how's the environment you're watching in? Loud and terrible. It was rough for me. And my husband, who is quite literally my favorite person in the world. We have so much fun together. He's such a great human partner, all of those things. He is a different human being when he watches Carolina Panthers football, especially when there are some beverages flowing. The decibel level was high, and it was tough. And I'm outnumbered, too. Thank goodness I had my brother with me on the couch to watch this game. They talk, and I don't really talk. Mm-hmm. And so I think they were trying to get a rise out of me, and it was almost making it worse that I wasn't responding. It was a whole thing. Neither here nor there. It's a lose-lose for me, though, because even though San Francisco wins, and I do want to give us a little props here that the 10 or 13 leg teaser you had comes through. The 49ers final leg that was the base leg for every teaser we gave out last week ends up coming through as well. So very grateful that the 49ers do at least win the game. Obviously they cover any number as well. Total goes under the 49.5, 20-9, your final from Levi Stadium. But it was just one of those nights for me where even though the 49ers won and I want to be happy, I couldn't be because of just the misery that I was experiencing throughout the game and afterward.
Well, you also couldn't be because as we spin this forward into the larger topic, a Monday night that was very reminiscent of, was it Christmas Eve 2 years ago against the Baltimore Ravens?
Oh,
for Brock Purdy, where he
was that a Christmas Eve when he threw the 4 picks?
It was very late. Yeah. We'll have to go look, but yeah, where he threw 4 interceptions. And the unfortunate part, and look, I was willing to kind of say, hey, I think the NFC does have a new contender, and they win the game, and they're still alive for a wild card, and the sky is not falling. But you do have to wonder if, the questions about Purdy, how much he's paid, how much he legitimately raises the floor of this offense. I asked you throughout the weeks when Mac Jones was the starting quarterback, and I meant this more of the prism of injury. Is a non-healthy Brock Purdy, when we kept talking about, is he coming back, is he really better than Mac Jones? But after this last week, where you look at, just yesterday, the putting the ball in danger, the interceptions, bad ones at that, dropped interceptions as well, could have been worse. I think you do have to wonder whether or not that was a symptom of, hey, look, he's only played one game over the span of a very long time. Maybe he's a little bit rusty. Or do you have legitimate concerns about Brock Purdy as a quarterback as you move forward for San Francisco?
Well, I'm obviously hoping it's the first portion of that. Mm-hmm. But my question is, did he forget how to throw the ball hard? Because on some of those picks, why are you throwing into a tight window and floating the ball? Yeah. That's what didn't make sense to me.
Some were trying to make the case that it's the toe. You can't get you can't get the same drive and thus. But I think Shanahan addressed it, said no, he's healthy.
Well, that's the thing is they said that they wouldn't put him out there if he wasn't fully ready to go and that he was up to his capability. So that was throwing me for a loop. Also, just how about we stop throwing the ball in the vicinity of J.C. Horn, who's one of the best DBs in the National Football League. He did end up having to get knocked out of the game. He had a concussion. The Panthers ended up losing 3 defensive players throughout the course of the game that had to get knocked out. But it was just one of those things where it was a weird game, and especially for people that were invested in the game total or if you were betting team totals in this one, the fact that Carolina wasn't able to cash in on any of those interceptions either is another story of this thing. They have the 3 interceptions in the first half. They only get 3 points out of it. San Francisco, if you're taking on another team that is more capable, you should have been down 21. Instead, you were still up a touchdown.
Yeah, that's the other part, because as we had discussed, and this was an opportunity for you in what looked like a pretty competitive game early on in that you were within it. But look, you could win the division. You still can if you're Carolina. Mitch and I discussed this on Pod of the Futures this morning, wherever you get your podcasts. And it could still happen, but to what looms large, I think, are 2 things for Carolina. It's this result last night where in a game your opponent turns the ball over as many times as it doesn't look very good, maybe had an opportunity to steal one on the road, you don't. And then 2 weeks ago, when you lose that just mind-blowing result of 17-7, the loss to the New Orleans Saints coming off of that Packers win, you are still technically in the running. Tampa Bay looks very weak at 6-5 at the top of this division. But these two results amongst some of the others, but still this one specifically, you've got to be able to take advantage of this. And it goes back to what we talked about with Bryce Young. I feel pretty confident in saying the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers is not on the roster this year. I would think you have to at some point, Esther get off the pot when it comes to him. And I think you're learning more and more that the time is to get off the pot.
And I'll also say, not impressed with Dave Canales, what he was doing from a play calling standpoint.
My guy
either.
knows what he's doing.
Okay.
I blame Bryce.
To your point with Carolina, though, they're just a half game back of the Bucs in the NFC South. They do have the tougher remaining schedule between they and Tampa, but they have the two head-to-heads against one another as a part of that with that home and home. The remaining schedule for Carolina, they're 10.5-point dogs against the Rams coming up this week, at the Saints, home and home with the Bucs, and then Seattle with the Bucs, and then Seattle, and then Tampa Bay. Their remaining schedule, in addition to the two games with Carolina, host Arizona, New Orleans, and Atlanta, and are at Miami for a game. Meanwhile, the 49ers improved to 8-4, maintain that 7 seed in the NFC playoff race. They are 6-point favorites at Cleveland this week, which should be a pretty interesting game, actually, against Shedeur Sanders. Give credit to the 49ers defense yesterday, too. After Bryce Young and the Panthers offense had a historic day last week, they were held pretty in check here. They were forcing turnovers as well. Robert Saleh, despite all of the injuries that they had on that side of the ball, I think he coached them up really well to put them in a position to have success. And we talked on the show about, does this set up for a Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle day? Boy, did it. Cashed just about everything on those two. Kittle gets the over on receptions. He's got 6 for 78 and the yardage. CMC, 24 carries, 89 yards on the ground and a touchdown, 7 more catches, 53 receiving yards. Both go over long receptions. Anything you had, you were pretty much seeing green on your bet slip after that. We are just getting started here on Money Moves. Shifting gears to a little college football next. Keep it locked right here on VSiN.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
People always make jokes in the NFL about the script and the fix is in. If anybody had it, JVT had the script this week. Knocking down a 13-leg teaser.
A 13-leg 10-point teaser, so there's not really that much. If you're watching on VSiN.com or YouTube TV, this is the teaser. We talked about this Friday, again on Sunday, and then here we are now today. We got it. So a 13-leg 10-point teaser gets in.
Which
obviously
only pays 10-1,
right,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, so first off, it's 10-1. I put this in. I think you were on the Twitter thread. I have to find out who it was because it just popped up on something, and I responded. I'm like, I got an itch for something this weekend. Like, I want to see if I can hunt something ridiculous and somewhat big, and so I threw this in. I actually had 16 legs, but you can't do correlated sides and totals, so had to ditch some of the other ones. But yeah, we got there. Absolutely ridiculous, and of course, I'm going to put one in every weekend now, right?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. This means you've got the positive juju, and we have to do another one this week.
Yes. I have to. What are we doing?
Is 13?
Am I living?
So are you just going to do it where you pick something from each game? Is that how you're going to play it out? Or
yeah, I kind of had like a vague strategy, which was, the sides that I liked, I obviously used. And, you could see there, like the Texans, you and I talked about that game at length. Really liked them, liked the Steelers, used them in an actual Wong teaser, teasing some of the big favorites down to some of those key-ish numbers, getting down to like 3. Look, I'm not anybody out there that's going to start to get mad about this. I'm not saying that this was like a mathematical strategy by any stretch. So there was kind of like a vague method to the madness to an extent, but yeah, man, I just wanted to sweat something big.
Are you going to give that out on Thursday for the Thanksgiving games, or when are you going to do it? Because
sure.
You got to keep them involved.
Yeah,
so.
well, I'll be here on Thursday.
The people want to know. That's what I'm saying. The people want to know. They want winners.
But to your point, it's hilarious. So last night, you mentioned having the script. Did you see? Now, I will say, sometimes we have conversations, and I say like the collective we, and I think we take from like the bottom of the barrel and then we hoist it up as this thing that is being had in mass when really it's probably like 20 people that are talking about this, okay? Having said that, at the end of the game yesterday, did you find it peculiar that the Carolina Panthers decided to go for 2 late after a touchdown? Because a lot of people were freaking out like that was the case. And reality was, no, that's what you're supposed to do when you're down by that amount of points. But there was a lot of people that were like, see, it's fixed. Carolina's in on it. And I was like, relax. Come on now. We're still debating this whole down 14, then you score and go for 2 thing.
You should have heard in my freaking household, once again, to go back to last night, you're telling me The 49ers don't have a single bleeping penalty. Not one. Not one. So that's what I was doing to give you just a little food for thought.
Sounds like you really enjoyed your time yesterday.
So, anyways.
And by the way, they got 2 penalties for 6 yards.
At the end of the game. They were both in the fourth quarter. So that's, again, going through how that was. That said, let's shift gears, get into a little bit of college football because it's going to be a fun week. 1 weekend to go in the regular season here, which means the picture for conference title games, the college football playoff, it's all starting to come more into focus here. Week 12 didn't give us, or week 13 rather, didn't give us a ton of drama. Every college football playoff contender, with the exception of Georgia Tech, handled business against largely inferior competition. Georgia Tech, though, that was bad news bears for us. And like some of the futures that we invest, I have Georgia Tech to make the conference title game. You have them to make the playoff, I believe.
They're done.
Yes. So they're toast for all intents and purposes. In the ACC specifically, pretty interesting. While Virginia and SMU do control their own destiny, win this week, and they are in, there are a lot of other pretty interesting scenarios that could come into play here for the ACC.
I mean, really, it's just about whether or not Miami's going to make it in. I mean, at least in terms of like narrative, story, intrigue, it's all about whether or not Miami's going to be able to do this here. So we do have the tiebreakers as to whether or not this is going to be able to happen for Miami. It's pretty cut and dry for the most part. So Miami makes the ACC championship a few different ways. Win is always on the board, obviously. You have to win. So keep that in mind with these others. SMU has to lose, Duke has to lose. That's one scenario. SMU win, Duke loss, and a Virginia loss gets you in. SMU loss and a Virginia loss gets you in as well. And I guess you put this in. I didn't realize this. I guess there's to use your words, a couple even more convoluted ways.
Yes. So it requires a UNC and NC State. There's other things that could come into play for them. But those are the biggest and most likely scenarios to play out. And I'll say, at least from the Duke side, I mean, they're only a 1.5-point favorite against Wake Forest. So it's not like these scenarios are out of the question. SMU has to face Cal, and they are a big favorite, and Cal just fired their coach, all of that stuff. SMU has been playing pretty good football. I know Rhett Lashley is going to try to have his team as coached up as possible, but I don't think that's necessarily a gimme type of a game. And I saw firsthand what Cal did to Louisville a couple of weeks ago. So I wouldn't count them out as this is impossible to have happen. And it's interesting, and that's why we put in the rundown what some prices are for the parlays.
Sure.
If you think that Miami could have a chance to get in one of these scenarios and you like the way it could play out.
Well, so this is why I wanted to ask this, because from the money line part, and again, these are just, it's a fun conversation to have. Do you think, I think it starts with the question, do you think Miami can make it in as an at-large if they don't make the ACC, if they don't win the ACC?
Based on their ranking this week, and we'll see what it is tomorrow, but this past week, they were not, right? So, and I hate that thing with the ACC. For the graphic, don't put Miami in there. It's so distracting and inaccurate.
Because if you think that Miami, it depends on whether or not they're going to make it as an at-large. Because do you convince yourself that, hey, I'm going to throw in these money line parlays because I need them to make the ACC championship game, and then subsequently put them into the playoff if they even win that game? Because that's the other part. You're not even guaranteed, but they're plus 235 on the yes to make the college football playoff.
I just don't see it.
I'm with you for the most part. And you gave us a great breakdown last week. For anybody who missed it, Money Moves Podcast, check it out, like, rate, review, subscribe. I think it was last Tuesday where you gave us the comparative pool breakdown.
Yeah.
And how the CFP and why the losses in the head-to-head don't matter right now between Miami and Notre Dame. Quibble with the process all you want. If that's the way they're doing it, I don't know how realistically, and you made a great case yesterday for BYU, so I don't know how realistically Miami does climb up from an at-large standpoint and get in. Outside of some shenanigans in the final rankings, which who knows, maybe it could happen.
I think it's going to be too much of a climb. But with Notre Dame kind of in our brains here, I would like to discuss a little Heisman Trophy with you here for a moment, because Jeremiah Love in the last week has had a huge leap in the odds. He went from 40-1 all the way down to, what is he now, plus 350 on DraftKings. Fernando Mendoza is still your favorite, and it is an odds-on number at minus 115. In a straw poll by The Athletic that came out this morning, very much so mimics what we've seen in the market. Fernando Mendoza was the leader in the clubhouse. 17 first-place votes to Jeremiah's 3. Jeremiah Love had the most second and third place votes with 10 and 8 respectively. Then it's Diego Pavia, who's actually fourth on the board He had more first place votes than Love with 5, but 2 second place and 7 third place. And then Julian Sayin didn't get any first place votes, 6 second place votes, 3 for third. Is it realistic to think in a year where quarterback play hasn't been, I mean, what years past has been, like the metrics and numbers for a lot of these quarterbacks aren't hitting what a Heisman Trophy winning caliber quarterback typically hits. Could a running back be more live?
Oh, I thought you were going to go a different direction. 2 weeks ago, we here on Money Moves unveiled the strongest betting trend that you've ever seen in your life. Stormy Buonantony on the sidelines for BYU football. Now a paltry 13-0 straight up, 10-3 against the spread. Today, we unveil a second. It is 2025. Fire it up, crew. In the years that have ended in 5, a Heisman Trophy winner has been a running back every single time. 1935, Jay Berwanger. 1945, Felix Doc Blanchard. 1955, we all remember the great year that Howard Hopalong Cassidy had. 1965,
good old
Mike
Hops
Garrett.
Cassidy, of course.
That's right. 1975, Archie Griffin. 1985, Bo Jackson. 1995, Eddie George. 2005, I don't know who that is. That Heisman doesn't exist. Reggie Bush. And then 2015, Derrick Henry. I ask you, nay, I challenge you, is there no better evidence than this, that Jeremiah Love would win the Heisman?
I love it. I love it. And when you put this in the rundown, I actually copied it and shared it with our production crew this week because I will be on the Notre Dame-Stanford game on Saturday night. So be prepared. We're going to have a graphic with that on it.
I mean, come on now. This is the strongest bit of evidence I have.
So good.
Also a point of evidence that we don't do good nicknames anymore. I mean, Felix Doc Blanchard, Howard Hopalong Cassidy. We need to be better than this. To answer your question in a very serious manner, I would say he could. I mean, we've talked about this, and I'll reiterate. When I watch the two quarterbacks that are considered at the top, I just don't see the best players in college football. I see the starting quarterbacks for very good teams and good quarterbacks at that, but I don't see the best player in college football. When I watch Jeremiah Love, I see potentially the best player in college football.
Dude, and it's just like he's a home run hitter, the contact balance, the acceleration, the highlight-worthy plays that he's had, 1,580 scrimmage yards, 20 total touchdowns. He's certainly the most complete back we've seen in college football in a while. Diego Pavia, from a quarterback standpoint, I think he would be the most valuable of the quarterbacks that we're talking about in terms of what he means to his team. But is that the question for the Heisman Trophy? I don't know. Reminder, guys, we talk about Thanksgiving and the holiday season coming up, but we also have Black Friday, and our Black Friday special is live right now. Just for $60, you get full VSiN Pro access to everything we offer through May 1st. Don't forget daily best bets from all of our show hosts and guests. So much more. VSiN.com/subscribe. There is no better deal we have than this one. We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. And before the line moves, remember the sharp plays is already there. They don't just follow the market. They help move it. You're not going to outsmart billion-dollar sports books or full-time sharps on your own. But with the sharp plays, you don't have to. They're powered by advanced AI, plugged into trusted insider sources, and active across the NFL, NBA, college hoops, everything. And the Sharp Plays delivers the serious edge bettors use each and every day. Free betting reports, real-time alerts, market-moving insights sent straight to your inbox or X feed. Since 2011, Sharp Plays has delivered documented results, public logs, and transparent receipts. Check them out today at sharpplays.com. Trusted by the pros, watched by the books. Sharpplays.com. Stay ahead of the line. Also joining us live in studio here, VSiN.com Managing Editor Adam Burke. We're talking plenty of college football. We got college hoops as well as Feast Week rolls on 66 games today. I do want to start in football, though, to carry over some of the conversation that we were having last segment. This is a huge week with conference championship spots on the line, the CFP picture coming into focus. Any games in particular that you're excited about this week or that you think something specific is going to happen?
Well, I don't know if I'm excited about it per se, but I know damn well that Ohio State better not lose to Michigan again. That's one thing I know for sure. Wyatt, I know you're back there. But yeah, I mean, obviously the Ole Miss and Mississippi State game has plenty of intrigue to it for a variety of different reasons. I mean, really, the one thing that kind of bothers me is like, I feel like most of the time these things, whether it's college football playoff or like conference, who appears in the conference title game, stuff like that, usually it like works itself out I don't think it's going to do that this year. I think for the conference championship games, we're going to have to go like 3-4 tiebreakers deep, and it's just going to be kind of, an annoying process for the most part. But
we need to go Texas high school football style and get the coin flip going.
That's what I said.
I'm tired of these metrics.
So I said that on the college football podcast with Tim about
Did you really?
we're going to probably have like at least a 3-way tie in the Mountain West. Who knows if we maybe have more than that. I was like, they need to go to a Maverick in some rural Rocky Mountain town and do a coin flip and just see who winds up getting in the game.
I'm here for a full Friday Night Lights style. I'm ready.
Absolutely. But, yeah, I mean, look, obviously rivalry week is really interesting, and, people are going to throw out the records and this and that. And, I mean, I guess so. But, like, one team is almost always better than the other team when it comes to these rivalry games. So I'm not going to buy the one team's trying harder than the other or anything like that. I mean, you always want to beat your rival. You always want to win that game. Yeah, especially if it's the only thing you have to hang your hat on, because you're not going to, like South Carolina, right? They're not going to a bowl game. This is their bowl game, right? This is their college football playoff game. But, other than that, like, it's just, to me, it's just you're handicapping another week of college football, to be honest with you.
All right. Then give us some handicapping, my guy. What do we got tonight? We got some games up on the board. What do you like?
Well,
How do you handle these games, too, by the way, where they have absolutely nothing to play for?
Yeah,
There's no bowls on the line, just pride.
I mean, we have garbage in the first game, Bowling Green and UMass. I mean, Bowling Green is at least playing for not going 0-12. So there's that. But maybe it's better to be known for something than be known for nothing.
What I said to JVT earlier when I was pulling up this game, because I knew you had a play in it, I was like, this poor UMass team, they're a 2-touchdown home dog to a 3-win team in Bowling Green. Like, that's brutal.
Yeah, not only that, I wrote this in my preview that, maybe I didn't. But, Bowling Green, like, it was the same thing with Northern Illinois, right? Where Northern Illinois, like, they had to cover this huge number when they can barely score points. And they went out there and did it anyway. So maybe Bowling Green does it, but I will say this. A couple shops have gone from 14.5 down to 14. One shop here in town is down to 13.5. Very popular. Actually, the sportsbook with the biggest market share in the U.S. is down to 13.5 too. Somebody is bravely betting on UMass, and I give them credit for it. I can't do it, but coming off of 14, I mean, again, it's not like it's a super key number in college football, but there's not a lot of love for Bowling Green in the market in that game.
Generally, just a handicapping question here as we were around the holiday times. Maybe this is too deep of a cut. Does it matter? Like, are we playing in, like, emptier stadium? Maybe this is more of a basketball thing than anything else, right? Like, students are off campus. They're going back home. Are these home environments a little bit more muted, or is that more toward, like, sports like basketball?
Yeah, definitely a huge thing in basketball, right? Right. So, I mean, you've got a lot of these neutral site tournaments now where, like, maybe locals are kind of excited. Maybe they're not. So, the teams kind of have to bring their own energy. Okay. But specifically when you talk about, when you get through Thanksgiving, right, and then you got a couple of weeks of classes and you take your final exams and all of that, and then the kids go on break, right? And you'll have teams that haven't played in 10, 11 days because they're trying to stay eligible, keep their players eligible. The students aren't there. You have 10% of the crowd that you might normally have, stuff like that. It is a huge factor to me in December, specifically between the holidays in college basketball. And obviously for college football, I mean, there are some bowl games, and Stormy, I know that you know this. There are some bowl games that there just aren't a lot of people at. Yep. So there's just not a whole lot of energy there, and the players kind of have to create that for themselves. So, maybe you get a game that's maybe a little bit faster tempo in college basketball just because these teams are trying to generate something, and kind of get themselves into the game. So it's a good question. It's probably, a couple of weeks away in terms of college basketball specifically, but yeah, I mean, you could say these teams are distracted, right? Some of these kids would rather be at home with their families for the holidays
than watching UMass football.
Right, exactly.
I worked a game like that a couple years ago when Kurt Signetti was still at JMU, and he called it BYOJ, Bring Your Own Juice, was the way that they were approaching it. We also have Western Michigan and Eastern Michigan. We love the directional Michigans going head-to-head tonight. Western Michigan laying just over a touchdown, total 48.5. They're on a 3-game win streak, won 7 of their last 8. Eastern Michigan, tougher season for the Eagles, but a little confidence you would imagine coming off back-to-back wins. How do you see this one?
Yeah, so this one, actually quite a bit of line movement here. I don't know if maybe this is just people being sentimental because tomorrow is our first day in 49 days without a football game. So maybe everyone just wants to kind of get involved in this one. But
oh, yeah, that's the last game of the streak.
Yep. So Western Michigan's out to as high as a 9.5-point favorite in the market. A lot of 8.5 out there. This total's moved up, too, from 46.5 to 48.5. I don't really understand that. I played under 46.5 in this game a couple of days ago. I kind of expected the total to go down, actually, because, it is Michigan. It is late November. It's going to be chilly. It's going to be damp. It's going to be all these different kinds of things. Not a very, great environment for playing football in. And also Eastern Michigan, they're just not very good offensively. Western Michigan runs the football a ton. So kind of a running clock type of game for me. Neither defense forces a lot of turnovers, so you probably won't have a lot of short fields. But I don't know. The market's against me here on this one, moving up to 48.5. I still like the under in this one, but obviously I'm sitting on a bad number with 46.5 now.
All right, as we look ahead to the weekend, or actually maybe we can have Thursday as well because we get a big one in the American Navy in Memphis. But anything this week in college football that has stuck out to you, big game or otherwise?
So Navy and Memphis, I think, is pretty intriguing to talk about here for a second because, Navy obviously still has, the Army-Navy game coming up. They've got some things to play for. Blake Horvath is a guy who's, not setting program records, but he is kind of moving up the all-time records charts in both passing and rushing. For Memphis, there's been a lot of talk about John Sumrall. There's been obviously a lot of talk about Lane Kiffin. Ryan Silverfield's probably going to be a pretty attractive head coaching candidate here for one of the group of 5 teams that winds up losing their coach, or maybe like a mid-tier Power 4 program because somebody levels up to one of these more premier jobs. I kind of wonder how invested Silverfield is, how invested the team is. Memphis has kind of struggled a little bit here of late in the season, in part because Brendan Lewis, their quarterback, is banged up. So that's a game that, I kind of took a couple of different looks at. Ultimately, I do think, though, that because Memphis has actually performed pretty well against the option, and they are a more balanced team in a battle of teams with mobile quarterbacks, I like Memphis minus the 5.5, but I am a little bit concerned that maybe the focus isn't fully there. They can't make the college football playoff, and Silverfield may be, kind of leveling up to a different job.
Similarly, and you mentioned it earlier, if we want to go down narrative street at all for the Egg Bowl with Ole Miss and Mississippi State, Lane Kiffin, all the outside noise that could be associated with that, Mississippi State, more games than not at home, has been plucky in Starkville, and we've seen that line come down to just 7 now from 8.5 initially.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are convinced that Lane's leaving. I'm not so convinced that Lane's leaving. I think it would be very much in the wheelhouse of Lane Kiffin to make a giant, big deal out of this entire thing and then go, yeah, I'm staying.
Distract his team, do everything possible to take away from, what's going on in a playoff year just to stay?
Well, look, I think there's also maybe a possibility that he kind of told his players, like,
sure.
Maybe he's been more upfront with his players than he has been with this entire media circus surrounding the whole thing. But look, I also think that Lane Kiffin has a high degree of respect for college football, for the sport, for the fact that it's rivalry week. He's going to announce he's going to LSU on Saturday and take away from all of the other games that are going on, the college football playoff discussions, all of that. I don't think that Lane, I think at this stage in his career, I don't think he's that guy where he, wants to take over the spotlight on a big Saturday to say he's leaving. So I could be very, very wrong with that. But, I think there were some 6.5s out there in the market yesterday that have come back to 7. So we'll see.
I love it, Adam. I was asked yesterday in a text, where will Kiffin coach? And I said, probably the lone wolf here, but I think he's staying. And I said, fight the urge, Lane. I think he's changed. I do. I think there's something to it.
I think Joey Freshwater has changed.
I think there's something to it.
He clearly has.
We'll see. Next thing you know, it's going to be actually.
I feel like if he changed, he would have just said, yeah, I'm staying.
DeBoer's out, and he's going to Alabama. And that's what Josh Pate was really teasing. No. We'll see.
Josh Pate knows.
It's going to be.
Crazy.
It's going to be.
New Browns head coach.
Must-see TV. That we know for sure.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Feast week, college hoops, 66 games going on today. Plenty of them in action as we welcome you back to Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, SiriusXM Channel 158, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV, the VSiN Watch app. Wherever you're watching or listening, we appreciate it. I'm Stormy Buonantony. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. Got the one and only Adam Burke on set with us here as well, VSiN.com Managing Editor. And right now up on the website, Adam, you've got plenty of breakdowns in college hoops, including a couple that I think are just fantastic candidates for Who's That Mascot? Come on, why doesn't anybody get into this with me anymore? I need some celebration. Need some energy from you two.
Any more would insinuate that I was once in and or part of it.
Boo.
I mean, this is technically our first, not technically, this is literally our first college basketball season together, so I was not part of it previously.
Yeah, but you know the deal.
I enjoy the game, but the problem is, like, I can't play because I'm the one who knows all of the mascots.
I know some of them.
All right, give me one. What?
Well,
See, that's what I mean. You don't even have any ready? This is your thing.
Yeah, what game? Do you want me to pick the game?
I looked at your article.
Oh, so you already know them. Or did you only...
All right, what'd you write up? This is getting stuck in the mud. What are we doing
Yeah, this
here?
is
Give me
rough.
a game. Come on.
All right, Tennessee State and UNC Asheville.
I knew he didn't look at it, so this is why I wanted to have fun.
That's the first one I got.
All right, what do you like in it? UNC Asheville is some kind of bird,
You have to
is it
guess
not?
at least one of them, yeah.
It's not.
Oh, okay, all right.
No.
That was one I did know because I used to live in North Carolina.
These are both very popular mascot names. Tennessee State Tigers and the UNC Asheville Bulldogs.
Oh, okay, all right.
You could have guessed.
Yeah.
Like...
I probably should just say Bulldogs for everyone, and
Bulldogs
the
or Tigers,
percentage that I'm going to get is
it's
Or
like I
Eagles.
said, it's like when you have a Scantron and you're in middle school and you just fill in C for everything. You're going to be
Absolutely.
right 40% of the time, right? All right. So as far as this game goes, I like Tennessee State plus 6.5 in this one. UNC Asheville, they're working through the loss of a couple of really big guards that they had last season, guys that were 34.8% from three, 42.6% from three. The rest of the team last year shot under 29% from three. And they also, a couple of years ago, they kind of ran their offense through their bigs. Last year, they kind of ran their offense through their guards and wings. This year, they don't really have anybody to run the offense through. They have a 6'9" power forward / wing type of guy who's a very, very good player. But outside of that, they just don't really have a whole lot to go with. Tennessee State, new head coach for them this year in Nolan Smith, another one of the former Duke players who's a head coach. Of course, we saw Duke play Niagara and also Howard over the weekend because a couple of former players are coaches for those two schools. But this is a team that, last year they finished a game over 500, brought back 3 starters and 10 returnees, even though their head coach left in July to take an assistant coach job in the NBA. So they hired Nolan Smith, didn't just promote somebody. They're playing at a very fast tempo, and also they're stepping back in class a little bit here now, too. So I think Tennessee State getting 6.5 is a good look tonight.
I did just want to say, for people that are just joining us or haven't seen this segment before, the reason that it's fun is because Adam, while he always pays attention to what the big games of the week are and everything, most of the edges that he finds are in the lower level games that people aren't talking about. Right. And they're schools that many of us haven't heard about, or even if you've heard of it, like, who the hell would that mascot be?
Right.
And so another one that I think is pretty interesting tonight is Portland State at Utah Tech. Mm-hmm. Portland State, I think a lot of people would know. Yep. But Utah Tech, this is a sneaky hard one. They're definitely not the...
No, you said Pilots.
Not either one of those things.
Portland is the Pilots. Portland State
Portland State. Oh, excuse me. I apologize. You're right. Okay.
But Portland State, I think, one is that's still relatively known. Utah
Vikings?
Tech, I would not have known this.
Yeah.
Vikings, right?
Vikings, yeah.
Okay.
Wow, well played. Yes, good job.
Utah Tech is the Trailblazers.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
no shot on that one.
Yeah, and all one word, too, as opposed to the NBA team, which uses 2 words.
You know what frustrates me is, like, the different teams that do Wolfpack, some are 2 words, some are 1 word. Why? Why the differentiation?
I don't know.
Important questions to be asked.
For sure.
I thought so.
So, look, just to kind of circle back to what you were talking about there. So, yeah, like, obviously, am I more interested in watching an Alabama versus Gonzaga, Houston versus Tennessee? Of course I am. But all of those players are good, right? All of those teams are good. So it's basically either a game of 3-point shooting variance or just which team's good players are a little bit better than the other team's good players. Whereas when you talk about some of these low majors, these mid-major types of teams, there aren't a lot of good players, right? So it becomes putting your players in the best positions to succeed. So that's why shot selection is a really big part of my handicapping, particularly with these low major and mid-major teams. You're not going to have a lot of great 3-point shooters on these teams. But if you get the ball inside, you at least have a higher percentage chance of scoring points. If you're taking fewer mid-range jumpers, stuff like that, you have a better opportunity than your opponent does, because a lot of it is just maximizing whatever talent you do have.
Can I interject and just say this is a great time to pop? CBB Analytics has a great job in terms of breaking that down. I know that we've been lucky enough to get a look at some of the data there, too. So check it out if you haven't. CBB Analytics, absolutely fantastic, and I've been using it a ton this season. It's been great.
Yeah, the promo VSiN 30 gets you $30 off over there at CBB Analytics. And I've been using a lot of their data as well, along with Bart Torvik, Haslametrics, the different resources that I use out there. But Portland State and Utah Tech here specifically. So Utah Tech is not a good team, right? We know that Mississippi Valley State is a really, really bad team. They needed 2 overtimes to beat them out in Honolulu. Won the game by 10, came nowhere remotely close to covering the number. But, they hung in there with Hawaii in terms of the final score, but Hawaii was 1 for 14 from 3 in that game. So even Utah Tech's closer losses or, their wins that look like they're impressive, they're not. Portland State's a very, very good team. Their body of work is quite strong. They're an up-and-coming program in the Big Sky. Also, Utah Tech will join the Big Sky next season. So I kind of wonder if Jace Coburn, the head coach of the Vikings, is like, let's show these guys what it's actually like in the Big Sky Conference before they get there. So maybe this is a game that they kind of get up for a little bit here. But this is, again, one that's very important to me, where Portland State's got a 6'10 guy in Trevon Minute who they run the offense through. Right? They can get the ball inside and score there. He attracts some people. They kick it outside. They're shooting 44% from 3 so far this season. Utah Tech is not good enough offensively to keep up with that kind of scheme. We're going to have a high rim and 3 rate. That's something I look at quite a bit. So Portland State -1.5 is a play that I like. Utah Tech, almost 45% of their shots against on defense have come at the rim. So Portland State's going to get the higher percentage looks, the higher risk-reward shots from 3, and they're probably going to make more of them than Utah Tech. So I think the Vikings -1.5 here.
VSiN.com managing editor Adam Burke joining us here. He also has a play on Southeast Missouri State and Cal Poly, but that you're going to have to go to the website to check it out, VSiN.com/subscribe. Come join us on the full-time basis. You get unlimited access to all of it. And by the way, Adam on these spots has been crushing the picks for college basketball in these lower-level midweek college football games, so keep that in mind too. I do want to go to a game that I know a lot of people are going to be watching this afternoon. 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 Eastern on TNT. Number 17 ranked Tennessee taking on number 3 Houston. It's a short spread in this one. Houston favored by 2.5. Total 133.5. Did anything stand out to you as you dug into the metrics?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things that stood out to me here. I mean, first of all, right, so these neutral site tournaments, they're different kind of handicaps. This is something you want to keep in mind. It's actually a big point that I made with that SEMO State and Cal Poly game that you can read about over at VSiN.com. You're playing back-to-backs, right? Mm-hmm. So yesterday, Houston has to go to overtime with Syracuse, right? They play a 75-possession game. Houston typically plays games in the low 60s. They don't play an up-and-down style at all whatsoever. Tennessee, meanwhile, they hammered Rutgers. They beat them by 25 points. So it was a game where Tennessee was able to kind of spread out the playing time a little bit, didn't have to go to overtime, didn't have to play the extra minutes, stuff like that when you are playing away from home. The thing about Houston that really gets to me, and I am not a Rick Barnes fan for Tennessee, and this is something I've kind of criticized him about in the past too, but Houston is a team, they rarely get to the free throw line, and they take a lot of mid-range jumpers. As great as they are on the defensive side of the equation, they leave a lot to be desired with Kelvin Sampson's offense. And this is something why I typically look to either fade Houston from a spread standpoint or from a bracket standpoint when it comes to the NCAA tournament, because they just don't take a lot of high percentage shots on offense. And because they play such slow-paced games, it makes it hard for them to put up the offensive numbers that they need to cover big spreads. But in a game like this against Tennessee, it's not one of those big spreads. It's not a game that, they're super worried about the other offense being a lot different than them, because Tennessee likes to take a lot of mid-range jumpers as well. But again, the biggest difference for me here in this game is that Houston had a much more difficult game yesterday. I do like Tennessee as a result. And also Tennessee is getting the ball inside a lot more this year than they typically do. And I think that's a positive thing for them. So I like the Vols in this game. And Houston, again, to me, they're always a flawed team, no matter how good they are in defense.
Yeah, I played against the other side from that game yesterday. Syracuse is playing Kansas, LA 3.5 at Kansas. That's up to 5.5. It's going to tip off at 12:30. And the fact that Donnie Freeman's not playing for Syracuse in this tournament, too, and yet I was kind of surprised they were able to push Houston. Houston closed like 14 yesterday, if I remember correctly. And Syracuse closed on an 11-0 run, got them to overtime, and pretty shocking result, but they got it done. Let's go Jayhawks later. By the way, I have to ask last 45 seconds, how bad are Stormy's Aztecs?
Hey, now.
In basketball or football?
Basketball. Football.
Because I think in football they have problems too.
Yes.
Yeah, in basketball,
what was that yesterday?
It's a really, really good question. Honestly, I don't love this Oregon team either.
It's the what am I missing special. It's only 2, and it's moving in San Diego State's direction this whole time.
Yeah, I mean, look, I will say this, right? I mean, as I just kind of mentioned with Houston and Tennessee, right? Tennessee wins in blowout fashion. They can spread everybody out, spread out the minutes. Getting beaten by 40, like, if you're going to lose, get crushed, because then you can empty the bench and play for the next day. So maybe that helps the Aztecs today.
I like SDSU against New Mexico. Nobody else agrees for football.
You mean like me, the one person you've talked to about it?
No, I know other people. By the way, shout out Lockman tweeting at us, note to self, better know my mascots around these guys. True. We'll be right back.
Yep.